Hello, everybody. Today we will be doing a playthrough of Dawncaster, focusing on the Hunter. This is a beginner's guide, so we'll be focusing on the default loadout with a very small amount of cards. We'll be explaining a lot of the mechanics on the way. We'll be looking at ways to approach some of the most dangerous enemies in the game. So we'll be selecting the Hunter, quite like the default portrait, and we'll be using the Hatchet. So this is the first of her weapons. We'll be taking the Feral weapon, and we'll be taking Feral Strikes as our kind of starting bonus card. We'll be playing on normal difficulty, which as you can see is the default setup. We'll be deactivating all of the add-ons as well as the progression cards. So this is essentially to simulate how the game would feel and play if you had just freshly downloaded it and you were just kind of trying to stick to the very basics. This is kind of good for a beginner. The thing is, some builds don't necessarily benefit from the cards in the add-ons because they don't really add much to their build. In this case, we're going to keep it just very streamlined, use the core card set. We'll also be selecting the maps manually that we move through so we can stick to the basic map loadout that you have in the base game without any of the add-ons. That's some good coffee. All right, we're starting in the Weeping Woods, the Gilded Summons. All right, so you can start the game. You just click through all of this. This guy will just give you a bit of money. Where's the music? Anyhow, so first screen. The way this game basically works is you have what's called an opportunity deck in the top left, which is just all of the cards for this kind of act or the scenario that you're in. It will randomly display 3 of them, kind of every time it shuffles and draws. This time we have the Stinging Spider, which is an enemy, and 2 opportunities. At the bottom right, we have our weapon power, which we can activate once every, in this case, once every 2 battles, which you can see at the bottom here in orange. Different weapon powers have different amounts of turns you have to wait in between. And if you click on this thing where it says 11, that's our deck. So 11 means we have 11 cards in our deck. Here we have the weapon that we took, the Hatchet. This is this ability at the bottom, flanking. And this is kind of what this build is sort of going to be about, at least initially. Flanking basically means that if this card is in the very left or the very right of your hand and you play it, it will trigger its flanking ability. In this case, that means that you attack again. So if you just play the Hatchet from like the middle of your hand, you'll do 3 damage, as it says, deal 3 damage. If you trigger its flanking status, so playing from the very left or the very right, it'll just do that again. So you'll hit for 6 total damage. So this is an interesting card game where the positioning of the card in your hand actually matters. So this isn't like if you were playing Magic the Gathering in real life, you can just shuffle your hand. That doesn't work here because it's actually really important. And there are some bosses that kind of lock you into only playing like from the left and the right side of your hand, and you have to play around it. It's pretty fun. The special card that we took here is Feral Strikes. This makes a basic attack. Make a basic attack basically just means in our case it'll play our Hatchet, which is our basic attack, and then additionally we have triggered Frenzy will gain anger for every attack that hit. So there's quite a few synergies going on here which are going to become a bit more obvious later. So Frenzy basically gets triggered if you have taken damage during your own turn. Now you might think, well, I don't want to take damage, right? Like I'm trying not to die. Now, there are some builds, especially the Hunter and the Warrior, that have cool abilities that trigger when they do damage to themselves on their own turn. And you can basically, in this case, take damage, trigger your Frenzy. That means whenever you hit, you'll gain anger for every attack that hit. Now, this is really cool because the Hatchet, when you flank, whenever you attack, it'll attack again. And this will do a basic attack, which will do a Hatchet, and then you'll hit twice because of flanking if it's on the left or the right side, which means the anger thing will trigger twice as well. And then anger also has a synergy with the Hatchet because each point of anger just adds 1 damage to every damaging ability you do. So if you have 5 anger, this would deal 8 damage instead of 3. Because you're flanking, you're hitting twice, you're actually doing 8 damage twice. If you have 5 anger, you're essentially kind of getting 10 angers worth of damage out of it. So this is like synergies within synergies, and this deck like already has a really good starting point. If you get to screen here with opportunities, I would always start with the opportunities because these are some of the only cards that don't get shuffled back into the pile. I'm going to pick this middle opportunity, and what you're going to see is the opportunity on the right is going to disintegrate. It did not get shuffled back into the decks. Unfortunately, that one's gone for good. In this case, our opportunity is unfortunately just being ambushed by this enemy. Down here on the left, you can see how this card is sort of lit up green, and this other hatchet, these other two hatchets actually are yellow. What that means is that its sort of special ability for its condition for its special ability is currently being met. So that's the flanking, right? Like I said, the flanking means the card is on the left or the right of your hand. This hatchet is on the very left of our hand, so it's green. This one is not. I'm going to show you what happens. I'm going to play this. It played it twice. However, this enemy only took damage from it once because these ravens have this really annoying ability where if you hit them with an attack, they gain 1 evasion. And evasion basically means they dodge the next attack. So we are hitting twice, but unfortunately the second attack is always getting evaded. Nothing to worry about though. We'll get him on the next run. Alright, they hit us twice. Let's see, so we can play this. This will summon us a basic attack and give us an energy. Now see, rather than just playing the hatchet straight from my hand, what I'm going to do... Well, no, I messed it up, didn't I? Okay. What I wanted to do was actually play the block on the right side, open up the flanking, and then play that. If I'd done that, I think this raven would already be dead. But here we go. Easy. So, every time you defeat an enemy, you can choose a reward. I don't necessarily see anything here that we kind of have to get or that's a must-have for this build, but I will still take this dash card just because it has 2 things on it that I think are nice to know about. I'm going to go to this opportunity again first, the Lost Soul opportunity. You have a few things here you can do. You can choose to remove a random card to light a candle. What that does is it removes a random card for your deck and heals you. I'm going to do this because one thing that you're going to learn more and more about Dawncaster as you go on is you do not actually want to have too many cards in your deck. If you have too many cards, your deck becomes diluted. You see your best cards less often, and often you lose synergies. There are some decks that benefit from having tons of cards. There's this one Corruption Arcanist deck that you're trying to have over like 100 cards because the deck just absolutely goes off when you do. But we're trying to keep it to the bare minimum here. Little thing that we got here. So now you can see we got this healthy tusk boar as a new enemy, and you kind of see how he has this little skull here. That means this is a mini boss. And this mini boss also has sort of like an aura enchantment up here. It's called Affix by the game. And it says this thing is enraged. At the start of the turn, it'll gain 1 anger. What this means is that if I choose not to fight the mini boss, let's say instead go for this spider, this boss's affix will actually be applied to this spider as well. So you're kind of incentivized to actually go for the mini boss because you don't want his buff spreading to all of his allies. Alright, so we drew this Fury because we activated our weapon power. So you can see what this Fury does is it gives me 1 anger, I take 1 damage, and I draw a card. I'm going to play this. You see this green thing down here, I gain 1 anger, increase the damage dealt by actions per 1 stack of anger. So that means that this will now do 4 damage instead of 3, right? So if I do this, this should do 8 damage total. Yeah, because it's flanking, so it does 4 twice. So you can already see the benefit of anger there. Rather than doing 3 twice, 6, it does 4 twice. So we kind of are getting twice as much out of each point of anger. You can see the secondary part of our weapon power, the regenerate kicking in here. So every 3 hits we make, we get 1 regenerate. Again, per flanking, we're actually getting 2 hits in, so we're kind of getting the great synergy here. And regenerate, basically what it does at the beginning of our turn, it'll heal us by the amount and then go down by 1. So you went down to 1 and we healed 2. Oh, here's the dash, the card that I took earlier. I can use this to explain evasion and ambush to you. So ambush basically means it's the first card you play of the round. If I play another card first, I will not get the ambush effect. In this case, this card will ambush, give me 2 green energy, and give me an evasion. So I'm going to play this. So as you see at the very bottom, I now have 2 additional green dots. And I got 1 evasion. Evasion basically means that if you get hit by a melee attack in your next turn, you will instead just lose the evasion and take no damage. So you're just evading their attack. It only works on melee attacks, though. It does not work on ranged attacks, does not work on magic attacks, does not work on divine attacks. It doesn't dodge like burning or poison or anything like that. It also can't dodge piercing attacks. The more I talk about it, I'm actually kind of figuring out it doesn't block very much at all. But It's still quite good against some enemies, because some enemies, their strongest attacks are just straight up melee attacks. I don't like any of these cards. I'm just going to go next. Alright, let's plow through some of these enemies. If there's no opportunity, just go for the enemy, I'd say. Alright, we're going to use this again. Ambush, get 2 green, slap the enemy, slap the enemy. Alright, we're trying to play everything. Get our hatchets left and right for the flanking. Again, you know how I said earlier, whenever this Raven takes damage, he gets an evasion, so the second hit of our hatchet actually isn't that useful. It's not entirely true, because basically the second hit, while it is getting evaded, it is also consuming the stack of evasion. So it is sort of clearing up the path for the next hit. I'm going to take this backswing. This is kind of an okay card here. I wouldn't say it's amazing. I'm just activating the weapon power on cooldown here. I don't really think it's too important to activate at any specific area this early in the game. Sometimes you want to save your weapon power for like a certain boss or a certain enemy you know it'll help you with. But I don't really think it matters too much here. Alright, we'll play this. Oh, so I played that Fury. Is that in here? No. So the Fury did 1 damage to me, and that triggered the Frenzy on this Feral Strike. So this is now green. If I play this, it gave me 2 stacks of Anger, and now all of these are going to do a lot more damage. And you kind of see we just shredded right through that spider. I can take this Wild Alchemy here to get some sustain, but I'm pretty sure we can get some kind of Anger-based sustain later, because at the moment the Anger is doing damage to us. Take these coins, have to fight a Raven for them. At the moment, the Fury cards are doing 1 damage to us, but they're giving us an Anger. There are certain talents you can unlock, or abilities or cards you can find, where you actually start gaining life from Fury, so they do damage to you, but then they heal you for even more after. So then they become not only a source of damage boosting, but they actually start healing you as well, and that's where they just become completely out of control, totally broken. That's where these builds kind of start to really pop off. So, that's really interesting there. You know what, at the beginning of the game, when you start playing this game, I would honestly recommend every time you kill an enemy, just like take some cards, play them, figure out what they do. You're probably going to make a really bad build, but that's just part of learning the game. You're never going to figure out what these cards are good at if you don't try them. I've played this game for probably a few hundred hours now. I'm pretty comfortable saying what I think would be good in a given build or given run. But yes, please just try this stuff out. I think it must have taken me multiple weeks before I got to the final boss for the first time. Thing is, perhaps a bit unlike other similar roguelike games like this, like Slay the Spire, this game is very heavily based on actually knowing what a lot of the dialogue options will unlock. So I feel like Slay the Spire is a bit more just completely random from start to finish, whereas in Dawncaster you can memorize a lot of the patterns, and then when they appear, if you know what's going to happen when you can do a certain thing, you can really make or break an entire run. Okay, so we've leveled up for the first time. We can pick a talent. We have a few interesting things here. You can re-roll them as well. Do not forget about this. I did not know you could re-roll talents for like the first month I played this game. I'm tempted to go with weapon training here. This reduces the cooldown of our weapon power by 1. So if I take this, I think the cooldown of our weapon power is now... Yeah, so it's now 1. Which means I can just use it every single combat. It's pretty good. I'm going to voluntarily walk into this bear trap. Basically, it gives you 3 random cards from your deck, and you get to discard one of them, which is good, because I really want to get rid of these shields. They are doing absolutely nothing for this build. There are some builds where you want to keep a lot of your basic attacks. There's some builds where you want to maybe even keep your shields for a while, kind of some kind of armor build. There are some builds where you actually want to keep these surges in because you're trying to find a surge stone, which when you upgrade can really make your surges incredibly powerful. However, for a kind of a generic playthrough, I don't really think you should keep the surges all that long. Unless that's something you're really trying to specialize in. Ooh, okay, I didn't want to draw that. Yeah, you can see we're absolutely shredding through these people. We're also not losing a lot of life because our regenerate from the feral weapon is kind of topping us up. Okay, you notice I'm always playing that ambush card first if I can. This vampirism could be interesting, maybe just to take, not to actually use now, but I can show you what we can do with this vampirism in a moment. Oh, infuse the energy of a card. This will essentially, so you see how our basic attacks have this gray energy symbol at the top left? That means you can use any kind of energy to cast them. Whereas, for instance, this backswing card at the top left has a red energy, and the dash one has a green energy, right? Which means you need a red or green energy. Feral Strikes here has a hybrid. You can use either red or green. However, if I infuse the energy of a card, it will make its energy color colorless. Now I can use any color to do this. This means I can't accidentally lock myself out of an energy type. So basically, I'll always be able to play that card. This could be really good if you have like super color intensive cards. It costs like 3 of one color. And it's just really hard to cast them otherwise. Not that useful here, to be honest, but it's quite nice to do. What it also does is it will upgrade the card if possible. However, that card is not upgradable. Oh, the Sharpening Stone. So this is kind of not really a card you're going to keep in your deck for long. There's lots of these in the game. It's kind of like the Healing Potion here. It has a 1 use, so I use it once, and the next basic attack I play will be upgraded by 2. Alright, the first boss of the game, by the way, the Weeping Mother, the Spider. She can be quite annoying, because she will kind of perpetually try and stun you over and over again. So basically, past the first round, she will apply this to you dazed. And so the dazed is 4, and it means that every 4 actions I take, I become stunned. So you have a limited amount of actions you can take every turn. That isn't too bad for this deck at this difficulty. However, there are some decks that just get like, it's just backbreaking. There you go, easy victory. So this Festering Wounds, inflict 2 poison or inflict bleeding, that could become good at a later stage if we find bleeding cards. We don't have any yet. Oh, these campfires, by the way, you can either use these to remove cards or heal. I'm going to heal once to get to full health. And I'm going to use the rest to remove a bunch of cards that I don't really care for anymore. Get rid of the Surge. Get rid of the blocks. You know what, actually this Backswing I don't really care for. We're going to leave the area. We're going to go to Bright Candle for the first time. So, in Bright Candle, you have a few civilians you can talk to further the story. You talk to the consul. You can talk to her to learn more about the lore. I've seen it all. I'm fine. I'm just going to skip through it. Blacksmith's pretty cool. I'm going to show you what he does. He does a few things. I'm going to turn on my weapon powers. It goes on cooldown. You talk to a blacksmith. He will reset your weapon power no matter how many turns you have left of it. So if you have a weapon power that's like 4 turns to regenerate, you can use it, talk to him, and you'll just get it twice in a row. Blacksmith can do 3 things. He can upgrade a single card, remove a basic attack, or upgrade all of your basic attacks. I'm actually going to have him upgrade all of my basic attacks today. Basically because you see how they have like +2, +2, +4, +2? Those are how many upgrades they have each. You have to think because we're attacking twice with them, we're essentially getting twice as much value out of our upgrades because he'll add 1 damage, but because we're attacking twice, it's sort of getting 2. At the inn, you can pay money to rest and heal. We're at full health, no need to do this. The Alchemist can transmute your cards. You see, you can either buy a potion, pay 20 gold to change a card to one of the same rarity, or 35 to change it to one of a higher. If I don't find any bleeding cards later, I'm going to try and change this Vampirism to a card of a higher rarity. You can see at the bottom here where it says Corrupted Action, and there's the 2 little blue stars. Blue is the second highest rarity, with the golden being the highest. So once we run into her again, yeah, let's leave. We'll be going to the Eastern Blightwoods because that's kind of the core default level where you're supposed to go next. once I run into her again, I can upgrade the Vampirism, potentially get like a really powerful, like epic or legendary card or whatever this game refers to them as out of it. Oh, went to the opportunity, got ambushed again. That's the second time this game is the Raven, the first act. Crimson Tracker in this one. Oh, so interesting little note there. What the enemy just had there, which you might have noticed, usually in Dawncaster when you fight an enemy, you go first. This enemy up here has this little red sword, which is called First Strike. That means they get to go first. So... Alright, we're just going to basically smack them to death with all our weapons here. They're just putting little traps into our deck. This is something that a lot of enemies do and that you can do as well with certain classes, is like put cards in your opponent's deck. 9 times out of 10 you're obviously putting negative cards into their deck. Okay, here's a very interesting card for our build. Furious Recovery. This will give us more Fury cards that we can use later. And if you manage to stack a few upgrades onto Furious Recovery, you can get tons of anger out of it. Golden Box, this is basically, I can take the gold and I'm gonna get 50 gold, but the game's also gonna put a greed into my deck, which is basically a mainly purely negative card. Whenever I draw this card, I'm gonna take 1 damage for every card in my hand. I'm going to try to remove this card as soon as I can. But let's first go and unlock the merchant here. You have a few options when you run into the merchant, by the way. You can check his boots, which steals money from him. You can leave him tied up, and then you don't get the merchant, but you get some other benefits, which we can look at later. Or you can cut him free, and you get Julius Belthorpe. You can buy some of his stuff. Show me your collection. Nothing super interesting here. Here neither. I'm just not going to buy anything. That's totally fine. 2 opportunities. Just take 1 of them. We're at the bear trap again. You know, I'm going to try and remove a card. Okay. Now I unfortunately have to remove something I didn't necessarily want to remove. That was a bit risky, but you never know. I was hoping it was going to let me remove greed. Doesn't always work out the way you want to. Shrine of Potential. Okay. Shrine of Potential, you can throw a card in. It'll upgrade another card. Oh, very lucky there. It upgraded my Furious Recovery. That's very good. I'll show you exactly what Furious Recovery does later. Oh, this is quite interesting. Wounded Animal. This is probably one of the best opportunities in the entire game, especially in the early game. This opportunity can make and break runs on the highest difficulty. So you have a few things you can do here. You can either kill the animal for food. I think that just heals you. The hunter has a special ability where you can kill and skin the animal, and then you get this talent that's called like hide armor or something, which gives you 1 free evasion at the beginning of every combat. What you really want to do is you try and free the animal, and if you have played for a while, you will unlock the ability to start the game with a single healing potion, and you can heal this animal using that potion. And you will unlock Compassionate. Now, if you go to the talent screen here, all my healing effects heal 1 additional health. That is incredible, because often a lot of the healing you're going to do is like 1 health here, 1 health there. You've now effectively doubled your healing for the cost of 1 health potion. It's like, that's amazing. Let's see. Let's plow through some more of these enemies. You don't really have to pay any special attention to most of these enemies yet. They don't really do anything too crazy. You can just sort of hit them with whatever you draw. They applied some burning to us, so we'll be taking a bit of additional damage. But otherwise, easy kill. Nothing interesting. Activate our weapon power. Again, it's on a 1-turn cooldown. There's pretty much no reason not to activate it at this point. Just keep on activating and go. I'm actually going to quickly show you guys Furious Recovery. Basically what this does, we gain 2 Rally and shuffle up the 2 Fury cards from your discard onto your deck. So we don't actually have any other Fury cards at the moment, so we can't actually shuffle them from our discard into our deck. But this is really good to have for later, especially also because of the Rally. So Rally is very similar to Regenerate, except for it doesn't trigger at the beginning of our turn. It triggers whenever an enemy does anything. So you'll see the enemy's going to play a card, and we're going to gain 2 life. Well, 3 actually, because of Compassionate. And yeah, so that's the Compassionate there coming in clutch, healing us for 1 additional. But why don't we just kill this guy rather than wait around for him to bazooka us? Okay, we've leveled up again. Collector, not good with this build. Walled Infusion, meh. Stalker, that's not bad. Okay, Deadly Accuracy improves ranged actions. We have none. Battle Prowess, meh. Stalker's definitely the way to go. Just get a bunch of extra energy at the beginning of each fight. Berserk is also good for Fury cards. However, I think we already have something to shuffle the Fury cards into our deck. Oh yeah, so the reason I'm mentioning all this shuffling the stuff into our deck, so if you've played any other kind of TCG, like Magic, you know you have like a library and a graveyard. For the most part with Fury cards, like this one, they don't actually start in your library, they kind of start in your graveyard. And so you either have to go through your entire deck once to get them shuffled into your library, or you can play these cards that just like pull them from your graveyard essentially straight into your deck, and then you can just start playing them right away. So there's quite a few cards that do that. It's like the one downside of Fury. Sorry, not Fury, of Anger cards, that they kind of require you to keep track a little bit of where they are. Spoils of War is actually a pretty good card. It's quite memey. I would say it's probably better for the rogue than for the hunter, but it can be quite fun because sometimes you can just high roll off it and get a crazy card. Basically what it does, this is an enchantment by the way, new type of card. See I play this and now it gets added here. This will now just persistently stay with us for the rest of this combat. And what this does at the beginning of each of my turns, I'm going to conjure a random item. This can be like a potion. It can be a whole bunch of stuff actually. I mean, let's just see what it gives us over the course of the game. Okay, they gave us a Potion of Visions. What does the Potion of Visions do? It draws us 3 cards, so bam. Beautiful. And that should be enough to finish off this mini-boss. Add a Fury card to your discard pile. You know what? I think without other Fury cards, I'm not too keen on that one. There are a few Fury cards that like blow a Fury run wide open, and if you can get the Anger Management talent, even more so. Okay, we're just gonna go flanking. Probably just kill this guy. Yep. There you go. Was that a turn 1 kill? Nothing interesting here. You can see how we already have the 2 green at the start of the fight here now. That's from our Stalker talent. And now we get the rest of it. And now if I play this, yeah, you see how much energy we now have turn 1? That's very good. This opponent won't be able to do much to us. Let's steal a bit of our gold though, that's a bit naughty. Okay, this time we got this, a stash of weapons. So I can conjure 3 free basic attacks. That is just kind of funny. I guess it's not actually very good, because the chance that any of those basic attacks have synergy with your deck, pretty unlikely. Funny card though. Oh, break bonds. You know, I'm actually just going to take the Ring of Power just because it's like an epic item. I don't think it's necessarily very good in this build, but it is a funny card. So just how I was saying before with the conjuring the items, how that's very RNG based, this ring is like the epitome of just like RNG nonsense. It basically just has 3 separate modes. And when you cast it, it just triggers one of them. And the more gold you have, the more often it triggers. You can upgrade it too, which is pretty funny. Okay, I'm going to use Teresa Blackbird here to upgrade my Vampirism to something else. Oh, this is a good card. Okay, Shard of Malice. That is brutal. That is a very strong card. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'll show you what it does. So Shard of Malice is an amazing hunter card. It has a few things that make it good. First of all, you see at the bottom here it says Memorize. That means it will always start in our opening hand. Basically, we play this. It's sort of like an enchantment. It works a little bit differently because you can't imbue it. What imbuing is, we'll come to a bit later. But basically, when I play this, well, actually, I'm going to play this first because it gives me the extra energy. I'll play this, and you see it'll just go onto my character down here. So whenever I use a green energy, I'll inflict 4 poison, and whenever I use a red energy, I'll inflict 2 bleeding. Poison, I don't really care about too much in this run, but the bleeding, that is incredibly strong. So I'll try and show you what bleeding is when the game... Because the thing is, I'm consuming the stack so quickly. Don't even think they're really showing up as they should. Yeah, okay. Oh, Monolith. Yeah, I'm gonna take it. So, Stone Legends Monolith. It's a... I think it's a bit of a meme card. You can build around it. It's quite silly. Alright, let's play this again. Play my Anger. I'll play my Ring. Let's see what it does. Okay, this one did damage. I'll Hatchet this guy. So this is the boss of the first level. His gimmick is he tries to bleed you, but he also uses potions, so he's a little bit unpredictable actually, because you never know what kind of potion he's going to conjure. I don't even think he knows himself. But he heals himself basically based on the amount of bleeding you have on you. You know, it might actually be a good time to explain what bleeding is, if I could get a single stack of bleeding to actually stick to one of us. There we go. Okay, so I put bleeding on him. Basically, per stack of bleeding, the opponent takes additional damage, and then it reduces the amount of bleeding by 1. So my opponent has 2 bleeding. So if I play the Hatchet, it'll do 8 damage, plus 2. Then the bleeding stack will go down by 1. The flanking will trigger, and it'll consume the second stack, so I will do... It should do 19 damage total. Yeah. So, I mean, he's dead either way. Okay, you have a few choices you can make here. Again, this is one of the things where I said earlier where this game is potentially a little bit different from Slay the Spire. If you know what dialogue options to choose, you can unlock quite different things. I'm just going to finish him. I'm going to dress the remaining bandits, and you now have a few choices you can make here. I'm going to make them all work for me now, because this is going to pay off later. One of the bandits steps forward, and I can choose one of these 3 cards. I'm simply going to choose the Ill-Gotten Gains, because I just want that money. Yeah, whatever. The blacksmith, I'm going to use him to upgrade. You know, I'm actually going to upgrade the Ring of Power. That's not something I ever do. Oh, damn, I should have gone to those other fireplaces and healed up to max health. I honestly actually don't think it would have mattered too much. I'm going to upgrade the ring again. It's pretty funny. Called leveling to further the plot. She'll give you a bit of money. Go to the merchant. Okay, the merchant has barbarism. That is a pretty good card for us if we're going to try and go down the fury route. So I will buy this. Basically what it does is at the beginning of combat, it just puts a fury card into your deck. It's just a very good way to ensure that you're definitely going to have fury cards to play with. Okay, the Noxlight Swamp. Olgar Blightbane. Go talk to the merchant. So I could get this Festering Wounds again now. This is the one that I didn't buy earlier, because it inflicts 2 poison whenever you inflict bleeding, and now because we have that one card that inflicts bleeding whenever we spend red mana, we could probably trigger that quite a few times. However, because we're not really a poison build, I don't really see the benefit of stacking a lot of poison. We could try and, like, go into poison. Whoa. Okay, that's a lot of furies. That was pretty funny. We could try and go into poison and make that our central playstyle. That's totally fine. There's this one card that basically boosts the damage of all your basic attacks by the amount of poison that's on the enemy. That can be really strong. That would actually synergize pretty well with their hatchets. But I'm not going to aim for that now. Okay, this is a very important level up. This is your level 3. This is the only time in the game you're going to get to pick an additional one of these attributes. So we're Hunter, we're Hybrid Dexterity and Strength. you can re-roll these and look through them, but honestly, I don't really ever see a reason not to pick one of the main attributes. There might be a few builds where you can actually ignore that, but just mainly go for the attribute that you're using most. Because I'm getting 2 green energy for my Stalker, so I pick the additional red. So I'm starting each round. Well, each fight with 3 green and 2 red. So I'll do my Shard of Malice. I'll play my Fury. I'll play my Hatchet. I'll play my Hatchet. I'll play my Furious Recovery. So these frogs actually just looks like some kind of stupid frog, but he has this one ability that can be absolutely devastating. This isn't something I have delved in yet at all this run, but you see at the top left, there's this little sword and this little skull. So those are the cards that your opponent are going to play next. If you played Slay the Spire, I think you can see this there as well. While you can't see what these cards actually do, if you've played the game enough, you actually know what they are for the most part, because most opponents only have like 1, maybe 2 of each type in their deck. And especially these black-red ones with the skulls, that's your opponent's like, God, there's a word for it, but it's basically like they're like ultimate, they're like uber attack. And this frog now has his like ultimate card in his hand, and what that basically does is it just does like a ton of damage to you based off of his total health. So it's really important with the frog to just rush him down so he has very low health, or build up some kind of protection. In this case, we just killed him before he actually played it. So... Oh, this is also a funny enemy. Do you see how their health bar is kind of... Would you call that cyan? Anyhow, it's not red, basically. That's basically means that this enemy is ethereal, which means if you do not kill them all in one big go, they will regenerate back to full health every turn. So you kind of have to kill them in one big damage kind of combo turn. The way the game balances that is that every turn they lose a small amount of their maximum health. These little wisps aren't too big of a deal. There is, however, this one mini boss later, like I don't know, he's some kind of lich, and he's got a ton of health, and he's got a ton of barrier. Oh man, he's a real pain in the butt if you don't have a build that can burst an enemy. Because there are a lot of builds that they work by kind of whittling an opponent down over a large amount of time. And those can really struggle with those kinds of enemies. It's just... This guy's gonna play 3 defensive cards. Oh, he's only got energy for 2. Oh, so you know how I said at the top left, you see the opponent's cards that they're gonna play next? So this guy's the green shield and the 2 swords. That means he's gonna play 1 defensive ability and 2 melee attacks. Do you see like the 5 circles in the center of the screen? Underneath the 2, that's his health point. Those are how much energy the opponent has. So you can see at the beginning of the next turn, they're gonna have 2 red energy. So you can also kind of try and game the opponent by draining their energy with certain cards. You can try using cards that have the interrupt ability, which essentially knocks their energy away. So it makes them less and less like potent. I'm just gonna get rid of this thing actually. Oh wait, I didn't want to. Oh, I thought I was getting rid of it, and I gave it reliable. That doesn't do anything. Lots of synergies in this game. Yeah, these little Noxlight Shamans, they get very nasty on the higher difficulties because they inflict like frozen on you. Frozen decreases how much damage you do. They poison you. Nasty little guys. Let's get rid of them. Nothing interesting here. Again, whenever you see an opportunity, go for it. Oh, this sucks. Okay. This is a great event, the Axe and the Stone. The problem is I can't pull the Axe free because I got rid of all my surges. So you know how earlier I said for the most part you want to get rid of your surges? That's one of the reasons why you might want to keep them. Basically, if you pull the Axe out, you get this really strong weapon that generates a ton of damage and fury. Or you can give it to the blacksmith. And the blacksmith can use it to upgrade all of your other weapons if you don't actually want to use it. Again, this game is just full of synergies and options. I'll take the Sharpening Stone again, just to upgrade my next basic attack. You know what, I'll quickly show you guys how this ethereal thing works, because the last one of these stray lights, I just straight up killed on turn 1. Okay, so it's got 12 health, I'm going to pass the turn. Boom, full health again, 29. So it's 29, not 34 as it had last turn, because its maximum health has been decreased by 5. I don't even think I can kill him right now. Ouch. There's probably a lot of unnecessary health I'm losing here. Oh, we should be able to kill him with this hand, though. Yeah, monolith one shot, boom. Nothing interesting here. The Wandering Slime. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm kind of avoiding the Wandering Slime. Change a card to one of higher rarity. I'm going to change the Monolith to something more interesting. Yeah, sure. The elites, the big slime thing, he's a really scary kind of mini boss because of he has this mechanic where if he ends the turn on an even life total, he doubles his health permanently, and if that happens 2 or 3 times, the game's just often over. So you kind of have to try. Oh, Devour Vitality. Okay, this is an absolutely broken card. Wow. That's very lucky that we found that. So what Devour Vitality does, it has this execute clause. If you kill someone with it, you permanently gain 5% of your opponent's maximum health. If you get this early enough in the game, like we just did, and you just keep on using this, you can have like hundreds of health points by the end of the game. There are even some tricks you can do where you can get like thousands. The only trick to it is you obviously need to execute the enemy with it. So it can be a little bit tricky to do. The enemy isn't on low enough life when you have it in your hand. You can like try and just pass the turn and keep it for later, which is what I'm going to do now. You can also try and put Memorized on it. If you put Memorized on it, sorry, not Memorized, Persistent, it means that you basically will keep it in your hand. God, I hope this doesn't kill him. Yes. Basically means when you discard your hand at the end of turn, you won't discard a persistent card. I don't think we've come across a Shrine of Binding yet, which is the one that lets you give persistent to a card. Okay, this is a bit tricky because these stray lights are constantly resetting their health. Whoa. Okay. Well, I accidentally just killed them there. Yeah, we're at the point in the game now where our ring is doing double damage because we have over 200 gold. So I click on ACS as repeat for every 200 gold you own. So I accidentally just killed that guy there. Shrine of Commerce. Okay, you can feed this thing a card and it'll spit out like one of equivalent value. I'm actually fine at the moment. I'm going to use all of these to heal up. And I am much more scared of this slime than Bolgar, who is the actual boss. Well, let's go for the slime. Maybe we can just like brush him down in 2 turns and call it a day. Okay, so he's ending the turn of 51 health. That means he will not double his health. I think that means we're fine. Okay, down to 43. Very nice. Hey, that was as smooth as it could possibly be. Okay, another level up. Lots of interesting ones here. I think Insatiable Curiosity, which draws us 2 extra cards per round, is probably the best card here. Alright, let's go for the actual boss of the lever Bulgar. So he's all about poison. I haven't really explained what poison actually does yet. It has a few applications. The main one is that basically, you see how I have 1 poison? Every time I take an action, it'll do 1 damage to me and remove a stack. The other application is while you have poison on you and you're healed, instead it will remove that much poison. So let's say I have 10 poison, I heal by 5, instead it removes 5 poison. So that's kind of a way to make poison useful even to builds that don't really otherwise benefit from it, because if you get 20 poison on an opponent and they try to heal themselves, it just cancels out the healing, even if you're not explicitly using poison for other synergies. Let's see. They kill this guy. Boom. Executed him with the card. So our total health is going up by quite a lot. Alright, we've defeated Bulgar. You can go through all this stuff, learn a bit about the lore. Anyhow, the point is that Bulgar joins us. And going forward, he will be able to imbue enchantments for us. The Amber Mines. Again, I'm just playing all the levels that come with the core game. I'm not playing any of the add-on stuff. Just trying to keep it simple. Serena, alright. Oh, there he is. So here's the Enchanter. I can go to him. He can do a few different things. For 25 gold, he can memorize a card, which gives them the memorize ability. So some cards like here's Shard of Malice, they have that memorized already on them. Again, what does that do? It means they always start in your starting hand. But much more interestingly is that he can imbue an enchantment. So I can take one of these enchantments. I'm going to take Barbarism. I'm going to imbue it. It gets removed from my deck and permanently added to my character. Oh. That means that whenever we start a game, it's just already been played. I don't need to draw it. It doesn't waste a slot in my deck. I don't need to pay energy for it. It's just there. There are a few bosses in the game that can knock enchantments off of you. However, you don't need to pay the imbuer again to put them back on. At the end of combat, they basically just get re-imbued. Okay, the Collector. This is a really funny encounter. Also because I have something I don't mind giving away. Basically, what the Collector is, you give him a card, and depending on the rarity of the card, he will give you something in return. If you give him, there are like 1 or 2 special cards that if you give them to him, he will give you something very secret and powerful and special. I'm not going to spoil to you what cards they are. Probably took me like 200 runs to even discover that that was a thing. So I'll let you figure that one out on your own. I'm going to give him this Ring of Power, which is like an epic level card, and he's going to give me a free talent. It's going to be marvelous, what a gem you found. And he has imbued creativity. So he gave me a free talent, which imbued a random enchantment, which I think I didn't quite exactly see what he gave me, but we'll see what it did in the next battle. Shrine of Stability. We can give a card Reliable, I think. I'll give this thing Reliable. Reliable is super cool. You know how I was explaining earlier how some cards have conditions like flanking? Flanking will only trigger if the card is the very left or the very right in your hand. You give something reliable, it basically means that its conditions are permanently met. So I don't need to have this card in the left or right of my hand anymore. It'll just always trigger its flanking ability. Reliable also means that if you're stunned, you can still play the card. So that can be really, really, really powerful. Whoa, this guy's getting wrecked. Damn. I actually can't get him low enough to kill him with the execute, but not otherwise kill him. Oh, so this is what we got randomly imbued, which is Venomancing. It says this combat, your basic attacks deal damage equal to the poison on your target. You know how before I said we had no poison synergies? Well, now we have very good poison synergies. We've actually kind of gone the other extreme. Oh, that's sometimes what happens. There's a lot of RNG in a roguelike, and today we are the ones benefiting from it. So let's do our usual thing. Play our Shard, play our Fury. Attack. Ooh, okay, I did not actually want to kill him that quickly. Oh, Body of Steel. That's another all-time favorite of mine. I'm gonna take. That's one of my favorite cards. I don't actually know how good it is in this build, but I can never resist taking that. Card game. This is a really janky encounter. Again, one you can only really know how to abuse if you have knowledge of the game. You can either steal their food, which just heals you. You can join them, and you're given like you can pick one of 3 things. I think in total there's like 5 or 6 total things that can show up. My favorite one to take is the Hangman because it gives you Trovin's Blessing. Trovin's Blessing means that whenever you gain gold, you heal, and basically at the end of every fight, you gain gold. So at the end of every fight, you heal a bit of health. This is some of the best like passive sustain in the game. The downside of Trovin's Blessing is for the rest of the level, both you and the enemy will start with 5 poison. So you'll heal more, but you also take more damage for the rest of the level. The thing is, though, is that we now have poison synergies, so this is basically nothing but upside for us. We're dealing more damage, and we're healing more. Alright, let's see. Oh my god, I'm actually killing them way too quickly. Well, let's do our stuff. Okay. Little mini boss here. This guy's a synergy with Anger himself. If you basically take too long to kill him, he just gets more and more anger, and he just one-shots you eventually. But I think we can do that to him before he does anything to us. I'm gonna upgrade the Furies. You know what? I'm actually gonna upgrade the Devour Vitality. It's a little bit easier to execute our enemies with. So we're now slowly reaching the stage of our game where our build has kind of come together. And because we're on normal difficulty, most opponents are not going to pose much of a challenge for us anymore. However, there are still always a few little traps you can fall into. For instance, there's some enemies that can reflect your damage back at you, and especially when you're running a build that does a ton of damage, you might just accidentally one-shot yourself, which is kind of funny. Actually happened to a friend of mine recently. In one of the add-ons, there's this mini boss that gives himself a reflect. Just killed himself off the boss. Pretty hilarious. I'm actually finding this really difficult to get our opponents down to any level where I can use this Devour Vitality. I'm just actually not going to care about it. I'm just going to go ahead and kill them. So, Trapped in Amber. During this level, you have a choice whether or not you want to recruit the demon or the priestess. I want to recruit the demon. So I'm going to offer her a trade, which means she's going to disappear, and later in the level, I can fight her to take to recruit her. And once she's recruited into your party, there's a few things she can do to you. But mainly, you can give her your followers in exchange for random imbuements, which is pretty strong. You also have to remember, did you remember in the, was it the 3rd act, where we recruited those bandits? At the end, after we killed the guy with the bleeding and potion attacks, we can give her the bandits, and in exchange, she will give us a random talent. So you can basically start feeding her our followers that we don't really want anymore. Yeah, now we're just blitzing through this. Look how strong we are. Amber Elemental. Yeah, he's got this funny little... So, basically every enemy in the game has some little kind of sub-game you're playing with them. The Amber Elementals have this thing called Amber Infusion. Whenever you kill them, depending on how much they have, they upgrade all the cards in their reward screen here. So you can see this Cranium Blow is dealing 13 damage rather than like the 3 or 4 it should normally. That's a really good way to get like highly upgraded cards without having to pay for it. I'm going to put this amber in my pocket because I'm going to need it for later. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to strength my way through the corridor. And I'm going to break some gold free. Look at 124 free gold. If I'd gone to the left in that tunnel there, I could have fought another mini-boss called the Lich. Here, by the way, I'm rigging the encounter so that I fight Serena, the demon, rather than fight the priestess. If you fight the demon, you can recruit her. This has some upsides and some downsides. The main downside is if you're running... Now, how does this work? If you're running a corrupted build... No, if you're running a holy build and you recruit the demon, she cleanses all of the holy cards from your deck. And I didn't used to know this. And I remember the first time I did it, I was playing a holy deck and it just removed my entire deck. And I lost the game then and there. They're pretty funny. You can have the opposite sort of happen too if you have a... a holy deck, a corrupted deck, and you let yourself... I'm gonna recruit the demon. And you basically let yourself be kind of like blessed by the goddess or whatever. I don't know how that works anymore. And then what happens is you lose all of your corrupted cards because you're some like holy zealot. So that's pretty funny. That's happened to me as well. It just pretty much ends your game right then and there. Next level is the Deep. This one can be quite annoying because you're fighting a lot of enemies that have like weird ways of surviving. They combine things like the ethereal health that regenerates itself with invulnerability. Oh, we ran into a Mimic. Okay, what the Mimics do is they just eat cards from your deck, and if you don't kill them quickly enough, they just literally run away with them. So you need to kill them as quickly as possible. You'll see here at the top this little ability, the Retreat, that has a number on it. Right now, number 2 is how many turns are left until they run away. But yeah, easy kill there. This combat, your melee attacks inflict 1 bleeding. That's actually a good enchantment. I'll take that. And next time we run into the Enchanter, which on average you'll run into him like once per level, I'll use him to imbue that as well. It's basically adding bleeding just adds more damage to our attacks. More damage to our attacks. Better game is for us. Yeah, see we're killing a lot of these guys just turn 1. Ooh, there's the Collector again. Oh yes. So if you can, try and find a card of the highest rarity to give to the Collector. I currently only have the Shard of Malice that is of the highest rarity, so I'm gonna avoid doing his encounter until I find something I can give to him. Nothing good here. Oh, so here's the Succubus that we recruited earlier. You can click on her. You can click on, I might have some puppets, and I'm gonna offer her the bandits, and she'll imbue something random. So she gave me the strong arms talent that basically boosts the damage of my basic attacks. Pretty good in a build that does like a lot of basic attacking. Let's see. Yeah, these guys are way too squishy to compete with what's going on here. Barnacled Hag. Okay, this Barnacled Hag, she also has this ethereal health that regenerates at the end of every turn. There are some builds on the higher difficulty that just like cannot defeat her because she has like 4 times as much HP, does a ton of damage. Not that big of an issue on the lower difficulties. But yeah, some of these normal enemies, like you can kind of see them sort of like smash them to pieces. Again, you know, part of this is experience from playing the game a lot. Sort of knowing what synergies exist, what's good to take and what isn't. But some of these even basic enemies can just ruin your day on the higher difficulties. So that'll be something to look at someday. Okay, there's a mini boss, the Cursed Kraken. He puts afflictions into our decks, or sorry, corruptions. He hits us with his tentacles, he life drains, he makes barriers. But I don't think he's any match for our hatchets. Another level up. Let's take Battle Rush. Just upgrade some of our attacks. Shrine. Use the energy of a card. Oh, this is the thing again where we can make something potentially colorless. Oh yeah, I still need something for the collector. I totally zonked out on that. Shrine of Misery. I'm gonna give them the site actually. What Misery does is it replaces all the energy costs of a card with 4 of these like health things. So now instead of paying any energy, I'm just paying 4 health every time I cast it. I'm just gonna upgrade this Devour Vitality into something epic. And the next time I see the collector, I'm gonna give it to him. Maybe he'll imbue something crazy. Wait. I'm actually gonna take that Sanguine Scrying. The Sanguine Scrying can be... You know, I'll take the gold. That's a greed card in my deck, but whatever. We can remove it here. This is a pretty cool card. So it deals 3 damage to you because it costs 3 life. You draw 2 cards. You also gain 2 bleeding, so it does a lot of damage to you. But if you're playing a build that does a lot of healing, it's sort of a negligible amount of health you're paying for a decent amount of card draw. So I would just always go for it. Unless you're playing something that's very squishy. Again, we're furthering the story here. Interested in the lore of the game, please read all this stuff. I've seen it quite a few times. By the way, for context, if you click on the middle shield where it says like 92, you know, the opponent's health, you can see how many times you've killed a given opponent. You've killed this guy 161 times, which, you know what? I bet if you go to this game's Discord, you'll find people that have probably killed him many more times than that. It'd actually be interesting to know who's killed the most of any one single enemy. Alright, I'm giving the collector the Philosopher's Stone. Ooh, he gave me Perception. That's pretty cool. Perception just gives me another free green energy. And if an opponent has First Strike, it basically removes it from them. So no matter what happens, we will always take the first game action. There you go. Killed the boss in 1 round. Very easy. Very cool. I'm gonna... Do I want to use these campfires? You know what, I'm actually gonna get rid of some of my defensive stuff. I think we're just so strong right now. Just don't really need it. I'm also gonna get rid of the Spoils of War. Leave the area, and we will enter the Onyx Cathedral, which is de facto the last level. So the Onyx Cathedral is a funny little minigame, which I will show you in a moment. Let's take the gold. Let's get all the gold. So you see at the top here, there's these 3 faces. There's the Seal of Agony, the Seal of Hatred, and the Seal of Chaos. There's basically 3 mini-bosses in this level, and each of them have one of these seals. And as long as you have not defeated them, the seals are basically applied to you as affliction at the beginning of each battle. And every one you defeat, the seal gets removed and replaced by a blessing. So here on the very right, I have the High Priest of Agony, and I'm going to go fight him to remove his seal. So at the moment, the Seal of Chaos is gaining me a random affliction. The Seal of Hatred is burying a card in my deck. And the Seal of Agony means that all my cards cost 1 additional life to play. So, again, not so much now on the lower difficulties, but these can be very impactful and painful to play against on the higher difficulties, and kind of killing the 3 mid-bosses as quickly as you can is probably the smartest thing to do. I also just noticed that the music of the game, I think, just kicked in again. Whatever, I'll take this deal. Infuse the energy of a card. Actually, I don't want to infuse that. So, this is a little funny synergy. Right now the game is asking me what to infuse the energy. The infusing the energy was again that thing where it changes the color of the energy to gray to neutral. At the moment, this scythe only costs me health to play. But if I infuse the energy, it'll turn the health back into energy, essentially kind of undoing the making it not cost energy. So there are a lot of synergies like that you have to think about where you can accidentally end up screwing yourself. Let's see, we can take this guy down, just turn 1. Nice. Spooky music. Oh, this is a great one. You basically just get a free enchantment imbued at the cost of 10 health. Sometimes the enchantments are very silly and don't synergize at all with what you're trying to do. So as you can see, Permeating Cold Energy on Orb of Winter are basically all for the mage. However, Sanguine Shield is actually very good for us. It basically gives us barrier equal to the amount of bleeding we inflict, and we inflict a decent amount of bleeding. Let's go check out the merchant. You got anything cool for us? You know what? I'm gonna take this multi-shot just so when we see the potion lady, I can upgrade it to like an epic card so I can give it to the collector, so he'll imbue another random enchantment for us. Ta-da! Okay, there's the collector. We don't want the collector. I'm just gonna waste this fire pit. Shrine. Shrine of Commerce. There's nothing I actually want to exchange. Grown Mimic. Oh yeah, so the Grown Mimic, just like the other Mimic, has this nasty habit of trying to eat all your cards. But you just kill him before he can do that. You should be fine. It was another Mimic. So we're getting pretty close to the final boss of the game now. Alright, another level up. Sanctifier's pretty good against, because at this point we're only facing demons. Lionheart makes us more defensive. You know, I'm actually going to take Lionheart. I think we're doing enough damage. I just want to avoid getting, like, surprised killed by the end boss, because he does have some pretty damn nasty abilities. There have been many runs of this game where I've just been kind of killed out of nowhere by the final boss, and I did not see it coming. Let's see. Okay, this guy's down to 2 health. And he killed himself off my Reflect Shield. That's pretty funny. Let's fight him again. Oh yeah, so it's a small gimmick with this guy, the Dreadlord. You have to kill him twice. The first time you kill him, it doesn't really count. The benefit you get from killing twice, though, is you also have this wealthy affix. So he will generate an unusual amount of gold once you kill him. Not that we're really short on gold this run or anything, but it's always nice to have. There are a few builds that make use of gold in more ways than just buying stuff. There's a rogue build that actually throws his money at the opponent, essentially. Uses, it's like gilded coins or something. It's a pretty tricky build, because you have to balance how much gold you spend on stuff versus how much gold you kind of just throw at your opponents. There's also just sort of a funny mental image of this man just chucking pennies at demons. There's a succubus again. So I don't want to go to the succubus yet, because I want to give her one of my followers, and I've actually not been keeping track exactly which followers I've already engaged with. So I want to use one of my followers the last time, and then basically give her that follower. You know what? Okay, summon Baylor. 666 health, and you only have, I think, 3 or 4 turns to kill him. Thing is, you don't have to kill him. There's no, like, real reward for doing so. But if you're gonna try and do it, you have to do it as quickly as possible. I mean, there's a reward, obviously. You get to look at cards. Okay, I think this should be fine. So he's gonna hurt himself here by bouncing off of our barrier and our reflect. Did. Nothing interesting. Okay, am I getting to the point now where I'm actually not gonna be able to upgrade anything anymore? I'm just gonna go to the succubus. I might have some puppets. I'm gonna give her Julius. Got Butcher. Okay, I can take that. Look at all the windows because they give you a buff. Alright, I actually don't think I have any more opportunities to get a proper good card. So I'm just gonna go face the final boss. So this is Dante, the final boss of the core levels. He's got a mix of annoying abilities. Some that are incredibly strong defensively, some that are incredibly strong offensively. He also kind of gets stronger the less health he has. He has this one ability that does damage equal to the health he's missing. However, we have put together such a synergistic, strong build with so many buffs. We've just killed him in the first turn. Ta-da! This cannot be, but it is, and it was actually quite easy if you just make a good build. So, that was our playthrough of the game, of all the core levels, using pretty much the most basic loadout possible on the Hunter. I hope this has taught you a little bit. This game is full of synergies, full of details, full of things to try and memorize. There's just a lot you're going to learn by trial and error. That's honestly one of the best parts of the game. It's just discovering things, clicking on a weird dialogue option, and it's sort of blowing a run wide open. I really hope you enjoy this game. I generally think this is one of the best games, probably the best game I've ever played on a phone. I've probably put more hours into this than I have put into most AAA titles. I'll be making more of these, trying to do a basic run of each of the default loadouts for the game's characters. So yeah, good luck out there, good luck fighting Dante, and have a nice day.